Hello everybody, welcome to the video. So today we're going to do a compare and contrast between the 85mm f1.2 and the 28-70 f2 lens, and we're going to look at them from the perspective of a portrait photographer. Which one is the right lens for you? Alright, so before we dive into these two lenses, I posted on my social media asking people, hey, I'm going to be doing a comparison video between these two lenses. Anything you want me to test, anything you want me to do. And I got an interesting comment from somebody, and I'm paraphrasing here, and they said, comparing the 85 to the 28-70 is like comparing a dining room chair to a dining room table. They're both different, you know, one's for sitting, one's for putting food on. And I totally get that, and that's a great comment, and that's actually a really good analogy because they are two different lenses for two different things, different focal lengths. But there's one place where these two lenses overlap, and that is price. These are both really expensive lenses. So the thing is, I bought this one, I saved up for it, and then 4 years later, I bought this one. And there's no way I could have bought both at the same time, and I'm pretty sure a lot of you are in the same boat. And here's the thing, and this is what I want to sort of talk about in this video. When I had the money to buy this, I saved it up, and I was gonna go to the store and buy it, and then I started researching this lens. And I'm like, hey, you know what? I have the capital. If I save a little bit more, should I buy this instead? Which lens would be best for my business? Which one is gonna help me get more clients? Which lens is gonna help me create a different portfolio that I can attract clients with? Is any one of them gonna make me more money? And you know, that's the thing. Once you have the money to invest, then you start thinking, well, since I have that money, what else could I invest in? Is there a better option for me? So that's the perspective that I wanna take on in this video. For anybody who's thinking about buying either one of these lenses and you're on the fence, you know, should I get the 85 or 28-70? This video is for you. So the main thing I wanna focus on is the focal length, the look and feel of those focal lengths, and you know, which one is better for what type of business. If you're a portrait photographer, if you're a wedding photographer, if you're a product photographer, if you know, street photography. I can't imagine wanting to carry these around on the street, but they're both very different in terms of the look and the feel of the images they produce. So that's what we're going to look at in this video. So let's start. All right, so this is Canon's new RF 85mm f1.2 L USM, and it is non-IS. You got a focus ring, you got a control ring, you know, autofocus, manual focus switches. There's not much to it. It's a very like minimalist lens, 82mm filter thread, and it is a beast when it comes to low light photography and bokeh. At f1.2, I think that's like the perfect aperture for getting that nice creamy soft background. And when it comes to creamy soft bokeh-licious backgrounds, the 85mm definitely does not disappoint. Okay, little step back, little too much sun on your face. Yeah, right there. Get a little closer to the handrail. Perfect, yeah. And yeah, it's an awesome lens. I love using it. I shoot a lot of portraits, weddings, events, that kind of thing. So for me, the 85mm is a fantastic focal length in the sense that it allows me to get close enough to the subject without getting too far. Like 135mm is a little too long for me because you have to stand pretty far if you want to get upper body shots, and if you want to get full body shots, you're standing on the, you know, standing far enough away that if you're shooting a wedding or event, people can walk in front of you and get in the way. 85mm is still manageable. It's nice. You know, I consider this as like my long end. I don't really shoot much longer than 85mm. And when it comes to image quality, this is what I would consider one of Canon's high resolution lenses. And these higher end L lenses just have an incredible ability to resolve images, and that's what makes them awesome. So if you're pairing these up with an R5, an R5 Mark II, R5C, you know, that's a high resolution 45 megapixel sensor. These lenses work perfectly with those cameras. Okay, now I want to talk about my user experience with the 85mm. So it's a little bit on the heavier side. It's not unmanageably heavy. It's not like the old 70-200 f2.8 with the metal body. That was a tough lens to carry around all day. But this is, you know, it's got some weight to it, but it's not crazy heavy. In terms of like using it all day, I like it. It's a nice lens to have on the camera. It feels good on there. But my only concern is I don't understand why Canon made it so big. This is the older generation EF 85mm 1.2, and you can see there's a huge difference in size. Like that is, Yeah, that's massive. And we used to make fun of this lens calling it the grapefruit because it's, you know, the size of a grapefruit. And we're like, oh, that's a massive lens. And then Canon comes out with this and it's even bigger. So I don't understand, like mirrorless is supposed to be smaller, compact, you know, less weight. Anyway, Canon didn't get the memo apparently. But in terms of image quality, I absolutely love the images I get out of this. Like, it doesn't matter if you're shooting at night, you're shooting during the day. You know, obviously you want to put an ND filter or polarizer filter if you're shooting in bright light and you want to shoot at f1.2. I mean, you can also jack up the shutter speed too to cut the amount of light hitting the sensor. But all right, we'll talk about who this lens is for at the end, but let's move on to the 28 to 70.
Okay, it should be good.
Okay.
Just smaller.
All right, so let's talk about this beast of a lens, 28 to 70 millimeter f2 L USM ultrasonic focusing motor there. People keep saying that this is more of a 28 to 65, not 28 to 70. Me personally, the difference between 65 and 70, you know, it's not a big deal. As somebody who shoots with primes a lot, I'm used to just stepping forward or stepping back if I want to change my composition. But yeah, just something to keep in mind. This lens is, it's heavy. On the front of your lens, on the front of your camera, you're definitely going to feel that weighing down. It's got, you got your focusing ring, you got your zoom ring, you got your control ring. And the one knock against this lens is that it is externally focusing. You see that? The lens barrel protrudes when you focus. And the one issue I have with that is that things can get caught in there. I do have the 24 to 105 f4L, and I've had that since the EOS R came out. I bought it as a kit lens with the camera, so I've had it for a while. And it has the same externally focusing thing, and you can feel it sucking air in and out as you're spinning the zoom ring, and there's dust inside my 24 to 105 inside with the elements and stuff like that. Depending on what you shoot, like if you're shooting out in the desert or shooting in muddy conditions or in the rain or whatever, things get caught in there, you know, and I don't know, it's an expensive lens and you don't want to have to be sending it in for repairs or to have it taken apart and cleaned and all that stuff. So that's just something to consider depending on your shooting conditions. The 85 is all internally focusing, so I have no issues shooting this in the rain or in dusty conditions or whatever. It's all internally focusing and I like it. Oh yeah, that's it. I like these angles. In terms of image quality, there's just something special about this. I've shot with the 24 to 70 EF version a lot with my my 5D series cameras, and I picked this up and it's just clean, it's sharp, it's crisp. I mean, you get a little vignetting in the corners, a little softness in the corners like any zoom lens, but for the most part, it is super sharp. Yeah, that's a good pose. I like it. And let's do the one hand on each one. Perfect. They say it's like having multiple prime lenses in your bag with one lens. You know, a 28 millimeter prime, 35 millimeter prime, 50 millimeter prime, 70 millimeter prime all at once. And I don't agree with that. I think primes are still better. If you can get a prime at all those focal lengths, you're probably gonna get better quality results, especially if it's a faster prime with dedicated optics. But this is a very close second. You know, I definitely don't have any complaints about the image quality. I think it's absolutely fantastic. There is one thing you got to worry about with this lens though, and that is the hidden cost. Because this lens, you know, costs you whatever it costs you in your country, depending on conversion rates and stuff like that. But then you have to buy a UV filter for the front of the lens. And this is a 95 millimeter UV filter. And I think here, this was like $200, $300 just for the UV filter. And then if you want to buy an ND filter, a circular polarizer, mist filter, like it just adds up fast. So the one thing you got to understand is if you're buying this lens, you have to buy the filters for it. And the filters are going to cost a lot of money. And I mean, you need a variable ND, you need a circular polarizer, you need a UV filter because you don't want to be scratching the front element of this, this lens. So definitely put a UV filter on there. I strongly recommend the B+W UV filter. It's got this nice, I don't know if you can see this here. It's got this nice grippy texture on the outside. It's beautiful. It actually matches the lens really nice. It looks great on there aesthetically, but it's a good quality filter with good optical coatings and things like that. So if you're looking for a really nice filter kit for your 28 to 70, I strongly recommend The Nisi kit, I find their filters really good. They're not as expensive as B plus W. They're still, pricey, but you can get a lot of good value for your money with the Nisi filters. So that's just something to keep in mind. If you're going to buy the 28-70, you're gonna have to pay the really high price for the lens and then the really high price for all the filters. So just keep that in mind. In total cost, I mean, 82mm filters on the 85mm. Is it 82? Am I getting confused? Yeah, 82mm filters on the 85mm lens are also expensive, but for whatever reason, you go up a couple millimeters and the price is triple. So it just is what it is. All right, so now that you understand what these two lenses are all about, let's talk about what makes them different, and that's focal lengths. It's the perspective that you can create or the story you can tell with these lenses which makes them different. So right now we're filming with the 28-70, and this is on a full frame camera, so this is 28. And you can see here for compositions, you can get your subject matter and the background in the shot. Some people wish this lens was a 24-70 instead of 28-70. I'm on that boat. I wish it was a 24, but you can see 28 is definitely manageable. And if you step further away from the subject, you get more of the background in the shot. I mean, obviously, you have to move the camera further back and you get more of the background. But yeah, so at 28mm, you can get some nice environmental portraits. You can get group shots, 2 people. You stand further back, you can get 3 or 4 people, that kind of thing. So that's great. And then, of course, I can't really see it here, but let's see. Let's go to 50. Where's 50? 50's right there. So you can get the 50mm focal length. And if I come here to like minimum focus distance, you can see you can get some bokeh in the background, but there's also distortion on my face. I'm kind of stretched out funny. So yeah, you don't want to get too close in terms of portraits with this, and at 28mm, you'll get much of the same thing as well. You can see minimum focus distance, a little bit of bokeh, but my face is stretched. If you want to shoot portraits with this lens, you got to go all the way to 70mm, and here we are at 70. There we go. So you can see here, this is like if you're shooting weddings and events, that kind of thing, you're probably gonna be shooting people, what is this, 4 feet away from the subject matter. You could probably even get a little further back, but you'll be shooting people like this. And you can see we're filming at f2, 70mm. Bokeh in the background is almost non-existent. So yeah, that's the issue. If you get close to somebody, you can see at 70mm, this lens has the least distortion in my personal opinion. Where's minimum focus distance? Somewhere around there. Okay, so you can see we're getting some pretty good bokeh at 70mm. It's not quite the same as an 85 f1.2, but it's pretty good. It's pretty good. And this is kind of the same framing that you would get with an 85 if you were taking portraits. So it's close. It's pretty close. But yeah, the one thing about this lens that makes it really unique, and I guess this lens key feature, is its versatility. You get 28mm, you get 35mm, which is my favorite focal length, you get 50mm, and you get 70mm. So you get a variety of focal lengths in a zoom lens at f2 that is pretty sharp all the way through. I mean, you get a little bit of softness in the corners, but it's not really that noticeable. This is probably the best zoom lens on the market right now. It's just sharp, it's crisp, the ability for this lens to resolve detail. And right now I don't have any kind of mist filters or pro mist filters or anything on the lens, so you're gonna see every detail in my face. And I don't know if I'm filming in IPB lights or 4K HQ. I'll put the info down here, let you know what I'm filming in. But this lens captures a ton of detail, absolutely awesome. Versatility is great. So if you're shooting weddings, you're shooting events, you're shooting concerts especially, this lens is great. At f2, you really open it up and you can get a lot of light onto the sensor, which is great. And people say, oh, f2, f2.8, not big difference. There's a difference. There's a difference. All right, so the big plus with this lens is its versatility. You can get wide shots at 28, you can shoot at 35, you can shoot at 50, you can shoot portraits, headshots, close-ups at 70. So you get a wide variety. So here we have a wide shot, we have the model on the bench in the background so we can capture the model in the environment, and then we can zoom into 70 and get a head and shoulder shot. So the versatility with this lens is great. If you just want a one lens solution that can do a lot of things really well, this is the lens for you. The drawbacks to this lens, obviously the weight, the price, the hidden price or the hidden cost with filters, because you're gonna have to buy filters. You definitely want a circular polarizer and a UV filter at the least. If you can get a variable ND filter, And other specialty filters, if you want, you can get them for this lens as well. But yeah, so this is a pricey lens. It's a heavy lens. It intimidates people when you point it at them because they're like, oh my God, they notice. But overall, I think it's a fantastic lens. In my personal opinion, I think it is the best zoom lens on the market in terms of image quality, sharpness, all that stuff. It is absolutely amazing. And it's a great performer all around. Yeah, so with that being said, let's put the 85 1.2 on this camera and set up the camera really far away from me, and we'll talk about the 85. All right, so now we're filming on the 85 1.2, and I like to say that this is a one-trick pony or a one-trick unicorn lens, and it does one thing and one thing really well, and that is isolating you from the background. That bokeh is super nice. So you can see here, we're at f1.2, all that 28 to 70 footage was shot at f2. Both lenses are absolutely wide open, and you can see the bokeh here is a lot creamier, way better subject separation. And if I get in a little closer, more towards like minimum focus distance, you can see that the background is blurred to oblivion. Like if you don't know what that background is, you'll never know, right? And that's what's so cool about the 85 1.2. It does one thing and one thing really well, and there aren't any other lenses that can really match the 85 1.2. You have the 50 1.2, but it's a little wider. You'll get a lot more elements in the shot, and that's part of the shooting portraits with the 50. You can get the person, but you get the background as well. It's not quite so tight. You have the 135 f1.8, which also can get even creamier bokeh than this, but it also has more compression because it's a short telephoto. Whereas the 85 is just, it's a longer focal length, but it's not a telephoto. So it's a different kind of look. I don't have the 135, otherwise I would do a little comparison. Maybe I'll rent that and do a comparison between the two lenses one day, but it does give you a different look. The 85 still gives you a little bit of like 3D pop or breath to the image. It's not fully compressed. So it has a really, really unique look. And personally, the 85mm is my favorite focal length out of like any lens, anything I've shot. I absolutely love it. And now let's take a look at some shots of our lovely model shot with 85mm. And by the way, all these shots are going to be on my blog, which is going to be linked down below in the description. So if you want to check out these photos at your own leisure, go to the blog, check it out, take a look at all the photos. But here, and thank you to Stefania Sima for modeling for me. Her link will also be down in the description if you want to give her a follow on social media. I'm sure she would appreciate it. But yeah, you can see here, we can shoot full body shots with the 85, and this is what they look like. Not bad, definitely usable. And then we can get like really close-up headshots where the background is completely blown out, or not blown out, bokeh-fied into blurry goodness. So, that's the one trick that this lens does, and it does it really well. And if you're a portrait photographer, if you're a studio portrait photographer, outdoor portrait photographer, even product shots, if you shoot fashion, you want close-up detail shots and things like that, I think this lens is absolutely fantastic. And the other version of this lens, the 85 f2 non-L version, has a much shorter focusing distance. So you can kind of get, it's not macro, it's not one-to-one mag, but you can get pretty close. So if you want detail shots of products, garments, textiles, things like that, that's a fantastic option for that kind of thing as well. And boom, here we are at 15mm. All right, so shockingly wide, especially after looking at both of these two lenses. All right, so hopefully this changes your perspective, and hopefully this video gives you some perspective on which lens you should invest in for your business, the 28 to 70 or 85mm f1.2. Both fantastic lenses, super sharp, super clean, super versatile, but as you can see, they both create two different types of images, two different styles. Here you get versatility and quality. Here you get a one-trick pony, a portrait lens that blurs out the background like unbelievably fantastic lens. So depending on what you shoot, one of these lenses is probably right for you. I mean, if you shoot weddings, events, I love this for weddings. Like this is in my bag go-to kit lens for weddings. This I take to weddings with me too, but I prefer the 24 to 105 f4, and maybe I'll invest in the 24 to 105 f2.8 for weddings, which makes this lens kind of superfluous. So I don't know if I get that lens for weddings, if I'm going to keep this or sell this. And that's the thing, like this lens is incredibly versatile. If you're shooting events, weddings, especially concerts, any kind of low light photography, this is amazing. But me personally, when I shoot weddings, I have the 85, I have the 35, And then I take the 24 to 105 for the ring ceremony only, because at that point you need versatility. You need to zoom out, get the crowd, get the, the scene, and then you need to zoom in, get the ring, zoom in, get the kiss, zoom out, get the crowd with the kiss. And the 24 to 105 is perfect for that kind of thing. But after that ring ceremony, I put the 24 to 105 in my bag and I don't touch it for the rest of the wedding. And it's just 85-35. And that's how I like to shoot that. But if I'm shooting some kind of event where I'm running around and I don't know what's gonna happen, especially if it's low light, this lens is absolutely perfect. And yeah, I love this lens. So it would be hard to get rid of it. But in terms of like running a business, you don't wanna have expensive gear like this sitting around that you're not using. So you might as well just sell it. But again, it depends on what you shoot. Landscapes, photography, amazing architectural photography, probably not wide enough. If you shoot architectural, you probably want this 15 to 35 or that other one, I forget the focal length, put it right there. But another place where this lens really shines, surprisingly, is in product photography. The 28 to 70 has this kind of like, I'm gonna put these down because they're both heavy lenses. But the 28 to 70 it has this 3D pop-ish kind of feel, like you're in the image. There's no compression. It just kind of like, it has a certain breath to it, which is really cool. And I love shooting product photography with the 28 to 70. The 85, brilliant portrait lens, blurs out the background. So anything where you need subject separation from the background, the 85 millimeter is absolutely great. Unfortunately, it's really great at just one thing, portraits. Portraits. That's what it's good at. And it's just like if you want to get, like at a wedding, for example, you want to get that expression in people's faces and you want a nice clean image. You get nice and close. So that's what the 85 is good for. So if you shoot portraits of people, maybe if you do product photography and you need like a shot of the object or whatever the product separated from the background, blurry background. But then again, you could rent the 85 for that kind of shot if you just need it for like a one-time use kind of thing. But in general, you don't want to be using the 85 1.2 for product photography because the depth of field is too narrow. Even if you stop it down to f11, it doesn't get super wide. So you're gonna have to focus stack if you want to get the whole product in focus. So yeah, those are my thoughts on those two lenses, and hopefully that was informative for you, and hopefully it helps you decide which lens you want to buy. All the images, like I said, will be linked on my blog, which is in the description down below, so you can check out the images for yourself. And if you have any questions about these two lenses, definitely leave them in the comments below and I'll be happy to get back to you. And with that being said, this video is over. Peace out, thanks for watching, and I will see you guys in another video.